This episode of Film And was pre-recorded on March 4th, 2020. Hey guys, welcome back to Film And. I once again joined my good friend Dan.
Howdy.
And today we're talking about the 2020 motion picture The Invisible Man, directed by Leigh Whannell.
Starring Elizabeth Moss. We got, who else do we
Aldis
have in there?
Hodge, Storm Reed.
Hodge. Yep.
I don't know the actual man
I don't know who plays the
name.
Invisible Man.
They wanted Armie Hammer apparently, but that's
And Alexander Skarsgård.
And Alexander Skarsgård. So you kind of got a mixture of both of those men in The Invisible Man.
Yes. I mean, it could be anybody. We don't know who the Invisible Man is.
He could be right behind you. Did you see for in the press packages, they're giving out like Invisible Man action figures, but it's just an empty like box.
Really?
Yeah. And they also have a thing with invisible ink that when you scan it, it says, "I'm right behind you."
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's the fun part of marketing.
Yeah.
All right.
Creative stuff like that.
So I think how we're going to do it, just...
Did you want to lean towards negatives first?
I think, yeah, we'll start with some criticisms, move into the positives, and then we'll go from there and see what happens.
Well, for those of you who've seen my Letterboxd, you know that I have a slightly more positive opinion of this movie than Dan does.
Probably, yes.
So you can start with your negatives, Sir Dan.
Well, I don't have any negatives. I did enjoy this movie quite a bit. This is a fun movie to watch. I was telling Connor on the drive home from the movie, this is, for me, a thriller. It's thrilling. It's less of a horror movie because I didn't leave horrified. I left thrilled. You know, it's a really fun watch. But that doesn't mean they're all, criticisms that I have,
Yeah, I get you.
I mean, absolutely. It's like it has issues. I guess the first thing is kind of actually the resolution of the film, the end of the film. I feel like I would have liked more resolution. It obviously resolves, but it didn't feel as resolved as I wanted to. Like, for a question like who gets the money, who gets the inheritance money, how does Elizabeth Moss's character move on, kind of thing. Like, I know it's a bit cliche to ask for like, oh, I just want that like montage at the end showing how life is for Elizabeth Moss now. Yeah. But I wanted to see that. I think it would have been good in this case. I wanted to see that because it's really open-ended whether, James's daughter gets to go to college, whether like she's okay, whether she's like getting over things, whether the public actually believes her.
How deep are we going into spoilers in this discussion?
For this one, I think, just to discuss this, I think we're going to go heavy spoilers.
Okay. So if you have not seen Invisible Man,
watch out.
Stop this radio broadcast, turn off your radio, turn that dial, go to your local Cineplex and watch
right now. Speed every red light to watch. And then come back and listen.
No, I think James's daughter gets to go to college because at the end she's cleared of the crimes because they do obviously understand that it was the brother who was in the suit and do at least doing that bottom, like the ending part. So yeah, I think she gets the inheritance back because she never technically signed it away and she was proven innocent for the crime.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that she will be able to continue to pay for Sydney to go to Parsons.
Sydney's, yeah. Which is, I feel like, for me, I think all that happens so quick. It happens in, 2 days? That, it's not long enough for it to ever be taken away. It's not very long at all. It's a very quick
I think the whole timeline of the movie, the whole timeline is probably, a month.
Because we see, there's 2 weeks between when we see her in the opening scene and when we first see her at James's place. Yeah. And then... I guess I can't tell if it's does a couple weeks go by, maybe a couple days. I'm really not sure.
No, I think it's 2 weeks after she escapes from Adrian. Then it's maybe 3 days until she gets the letter of inheritance. So probably about a month.
Yeah, which is a good span of time for this film. I think it works in that sense. Some of the effects, I think this is a big one for me. I feel like if you're doing a remake, if you're considering The Invisible Man, there's a lot of ways you can go with it. And for me, I feel like they approach this movie from kind of a perspective of, we have the technology to make some really cool shots, and let's just build a story around it, which normally doesn't really attract me very much. So a lot of kind of unnecessary stuff gets put in just for the sake of, oh, that's cool. Oh, that was amazing. Just because they have the technology.
Do you have any examples?
To do it well. A lot of the initial introductions to the Invisible Man.
Do you mean like her being lifted off the ground and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, I don't want to go into like horror tropes either, because like obviously there's a couple in the movie, but it's not in an overbearing sense, which I appreciate.
No, I agree with you. I have a different issue with that scene though, the particular one where she has her first physical confrontation with Adrian in the suit, where it runs the risk of being kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Because when she's like struggling against him, you just see her like swinging up at the air, where there's like seconds where it's like this is no longer like thrilling, it's just kind of goofy. The same thing when she's like breaking the plates over him, and obviously you can't see him, so it's just like things just like shattering in her hand, and it looks kind of dumb.
There's a couple of those I think work really
Same
effectively.
Thing with the pepper spray one doesn't really work.
Yeah,
for me.
and you're just kind of like,
it's
okay.
Like, oh, okay.
I think you can tell. I think the audience can tell, which is really good on the part of the cinematographer.
Yeah.
The audience can tell still what's happening.
Yeah.
You're supposed to imagine what's happening, sort of. Like if Adrian gets hit with a pepper spray and we were just seeing him and he gets thrown back, the camera does the exact same movement.
Yeah.
Which for me is even like a bit of a commentary on just like how Pavlovian some of all movie watching brains are. Like we kind of expect us, like they give us a shot and we know what it's supposed to be. I'd be interested to
see the VFX breakdown for this. Whether or not it's a man in a fully green suit, or they have the objects on the desk linked to like a mechanism where they fall.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if like it's all done practically, or if it is like built-in things in the set.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be interested to see.
I think that would probably be really cool. I think that would help me come to terms with some of the practicality of this movie and the effects.
Because it's very cool. A lot of the effects are very cool.
Absolutely.
I think the suit itself is very well done.
The golf ball shot.
The golf ball. I'm bummed that's the golf ball shot, because I think that's a really cool reveal.
It is.
So scary.
I wish it wasn't in the trailers.
Yeah.
Because it ruined it for me, because I knew it was coming like
I heard
7
you say
minutes.
the white paint.
Yeah, I was like, well, there it is. I knew it. Like, I think really when it comes to visual effects, I think the only criticism I have is the fact that I think the movie could have struck a better balance between plot and special effects and VFX. Just because I think the plot does kind of suffer at the point of showing cool stuff, you know? Where it's like the plot kind of just stands still for a bit and it's just Adrian
because
messing with her.
The movie doesn't really have much of a plot in the middle of it. When it's just like Adrian messing with her like people thinking she's crazy.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
And I think there's ways to incorporate more plot points and more story and more depth to the characters and not sacrifice VFX.
No, that's a complaint of this movie. I'm not really realizing until like now, is it is kind of very light on plot, where it's a character study, but even so, I feel like you could maybe have a little bit more between the characters.
Yeah.
We never really learn her connection to Aldis Hodge's character. I think James is the cop's name.
Yeah.
We just know that him and the sister are friends.
That's about it.
Yeah. And it's a thing where there's a lot of like character connections we don't know. Like we get obviously they're close.
Yeah.
But we don't know any bit of their relationship to each other.
Mm-hmm. Other than like kind of surface level.
Like, even like they like each other and they're friends.
Yeah. Oh, like her and the sister, even
like the sister, they're
like,
tense, even though you don't get that
sisters,
at all during their
and
first
you don't really
meeting.
Know why? They're just kind of like, okay.
No,
the movie asks you to accept a couple things.
Do you want to know my biggest complaint about this movie, though? Speaking of the sister, some really poor writing.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of dialogue, especially on the sister's part, that is horrendous. Yeah. I forget the exact line, but she's like, "I'm not trying to like mess with you, boo," is something she says, or something like that.
That's when Elizabeth Moss is coming back and saying like, "Hey, I'm not crazy. I didn't send you that email."
That's the part where the sister comes to James's house and she's, "You can't be here because he knows where you live and he'll follow you here." Mm-hmm. She's not trying to like upset you, boo, or like something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, that clunky. What is that?
It's clunky, is what it was.
It's there's other like little things the sister says, like things like that, where it's like that's just a really bad line. Mm-hmm. And I think it's mainly on the dialogue front I have issues with the script, but there is also some parts in the narrative, like I mentioned, where it is kind of like flat, where it's like that's kind of goofy.
I mean, this remake of Invisible Man has been in the works for about a decade at this point. Going through drafts,
different incarnations. This version of Invisible Man is very different. The one we're getting with Johnny Depp and the one before that.
2017, 2018 was when it was looking like. Very different, yes. Yeah. But imagine this movie with Johnny Depp as Invisible Man.
Well, this movie only got made because The Mummy, the Dark Universe one, flopped.
Yeah. It tanked.
No, because then they're like, we have this property, we don't know what to do. And then Leigh Whannell was like, hey, I can do it. And they're like, you go, Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
This movie only cost $7 million.
This?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It only cost $7 million.
That is very, very impressive.
Very impressive.
But also, like, Blumhouse has always been good at that.
They have.
Low budget, high return movies. I mean, you can look at any of their initial stuff.
Yeah.
Really, and it displays that.
Do you have any other negatives, Dan, or do you think we can
Honestly,
move on
no.
to,
I'm like,
the positives?
I'm ready to move on to some positive notes.
Okay, guys, we're going to do a quick break, and we'll come back with our positives about The Invisible Man.
Being around too much loud noise like a leaf blower or rock concert can cause permanent hearing loss. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. Hearing loss is the third most common chronic health condition in the U.S. Almost twice as many people report hearing loss as diabetes or cancer. The louder a sound is, and the longer you're exposed to it, the more likely it will damage your hearing. Repeated exposure to noise can cause stress, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, heart disease, and many other problems. Hearing loss from loud noise at home and in the community can be prevented. Avoid noisy places. Use earplugs, protective earmuffs, or noise-canceling headphones when near loud noises. Keep the volume down when watching TV or listening to music and using earbuds or headphones. Get your hearing checked and ask your healthcare provider how to protect your hearing from noise. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
We're doing sipping. We're sipping drinks.
Sipping time.
To keep our voices lathered.
Well, I'm drinking like a dairy product. My voice is not lathered. I'm like hitting my voice with a sledgehammer.
Jeez, man. Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Film And. Me and Dad are going to dive into the positives of the motion picture. So Dan, since we started with you for negatives, why don't we do the same for positives? What things stood out to you in the movie?
Oh, a lot of great things. I think it's a lot of the subtle things that this movie does well that I like pointing out. For example, the exposition is insanely natural and not at all intrusive. The fact that you are in San Francisco, the fact that James, Aldis Hodge, is a cop, all of that comes by pretty naturally, and I appreciate how they did that. And I just wanted to say that because that's really important, that like the fact that they're in San Francisco is not shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
It's used, they use locations, but not in a way where you're like, it has to be at this location. Like there's no Golden Gate Bridge scene. There's no like
it uses San Francisco as a backdrop and not like a thing to like put in your face.
Exactly. And I appreciate that so much because I know so many movies, when they're put in big cities, that's what it is. It's like, let me show people a landmark. So like they kind of like know what's happening.
It also helps the movie is low budget because they couldn't afford to shoot on like the Golden Gate Bridge and something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was like instead of a $70 million movie, instead of a $7 million movie, there probably would have seen where he's chasing her and like he's bumping into cars on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah,
and
it just would have been like,
if you go into it like knowing you have a higher budget, you're gonna obviously your mind's gonna go to bigger like set pieces and stuff, which I don't think this movie needs. Big set pieces. I think the thing I like about this movie going into that, I think the set pieces are great for limited budget they have.
Absolutely.
The stuff in the mental hospital and then immediately followed by him in the rain, I think is really smart. And how they have Liza Moss's character, which I'm blanking on her name right now. Not Cynthia. Something along those lines. Do you mind looking that up for me really quick?
Sure.
But when she's in the rain, like following him, you notice she looks under cars. And it's like that, they'd be looking where they know the Invisible Man couldn't be seen, where there's no rain. And obviously that'd be under cars, or like as you see with the trunk popped open. Yeah. Where it's like just really smart details like that, where they know like how he would not be seen. Or when she puts the coffee grounds on the floor and puts herself in the corner, because she knows obviously if he walks towards her, she'll see the coffee grounds move. Yeah. Things like that are really smart. Is it not? That's going to bug me.
And Cecilia.
It's
Cecilia.
Okay, so I said Cynthia. Cecilia Cass is her name. Another thing I really like is, speaking of James, I think Aldis Hodge is amazing in this movie. No, I think his relationship also with Storm Reed is amazing. The two of them, like, I buy them as a father and daughter completely from the first scene they have together where they're talking about college.
Absolutely.
And he was,
I
she's
really
like, you want to
appreciate
have
their
a goal?
chemistry.
And he was like, I told you to have goals. And the same thing with where Cecilia gets the bottle of wine. Champagne. Like, it's a bottle of champagne, and she like starts celebrating too. And he's like, "I don't know why you're celebrating. You can't have any." That scene is so great. The whole ladder scene is amazing. It's that's immediately way to get like connected to the characters immediately, and even way to feel more for Cecilia when things go wrong is because you just had this great moment with her and this family she's built.
Yeah, that was nice. It honestly made me feel bad because the scene is so nice and warm that you just know things are about to like immediately go south.
Like you said to me in the theater, like, why can't the whole movie just be this?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I would love a movie just like Elizabeth Moss and her like new family.
Absolutely. That should be the sequel.
Yeah, Invisible Woman is just her, like, just
Invisible
in the corner.
Woman just having a family. You
nice.
listen to me, Blumhouse, Jason
Blum.
Jason Blum. He is actually one of our listeners. Jason Blum.
Jason Blum is one of our two listeners.
One of our two listeners.
It's him and Florence Pugh.
And Florence Pugh,
right?
I believe.
Is that our two listeners?
The Booksmart girls come in every once in a while.
The Booksmart girls, they visit.
Yeah. So thank you guys for your
support. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Beanie, for stopping by.
Next up, Tom, the brother character. Such a good, like, almost like an anti-antagonist. Like, it's like a surprise antagonist at points. Like, really, I just love the arc of Tom. Bad to good to bad. That's like something I don't usually
It's
expect.
also a commentary on Adrian's abuse and his control over Tom as well.
Yeah,
he mentions, like, I've dealt with him my entire life, and his claws are even deeper in Tom than they are in Cecilia.
Yeah, which is why he like Adrian is able to like go around and just pull the strings like that. And I think that's a really interesting commentary on like sociopaths in general. The fact that like they don't just pick a person. It's like kind of like with everybody. It's kind of like it's their life, and I think that really just builds Adrian's character and like kind of just talks to like the strength of the idea as well.
Exactly, and that reveal does work very well.
It does
when he says to like, "There's a third option."
Yep. Oh,
because you get the villainy kind of thing just by the fact that like he's like a lawyer. And it's that kind of thing where it's like not saying lawyers are evil, but obviously with a certain degree of like the law, you have like a coldness to you.
Yeah.
And even the fact like he's like when his brother, obviously we know his brother is not dead by the end of the movie, but you kind of get that same coldness when he's like, I have to read this statement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I think the character of Tom, like you had a very good point, is very intriguing with the fact like I think he's like, we're to say he's fragile almost.
Yeah.
But you get the feeling like he's like this kind of like weird, like closed off emotional like guy, but you never get to see it because he's had that like pounded out of him by his brother. Mm-hmm. And it's really intriguing. Like you get the pain that he's as obviously still feeling from that relationship. Absolutely. And it's very intriguing.
It is. Also, like you bring me back to like that third option scene. I remember the fact that like one of the options is that like Elizabeth Moss has the baby.
Yeah.
And I realized this is something that like just came to mind. I really like the fact that they made a character pregnant and did not make her helpless.
Oh yeah.
Like usually when I see like a pregnant character, it's like must be protected, can't do anything, has to like sit on a pedestal or sit in the back and just kind of watch a scene unfold. But having the protagonist be pregnant and still be able to like defend herself, and just be an active part of the
early stages of pregnancy.
Like that's so that's just like I appreciate seeing that because like that's breaking a stereotype for me. I'm looking at that and I'm saying like that's something I haven't seen before.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think that's a really just a cool thing to this movie. Another positive note.
Yeah.
I think it's just a fun fact for all of you out there, for all of you film nerds like Jason Blum. Hey, Jason. I'm not sure if you saw this fun fact, but in that dialogue, Cecilia accuses Adrian's brother of being what?
A jellyfish.
A jellyfish. And the fact that Tom is the Invisible Man in the suit is foreshadowed when he attacks James's daughter, who is wearing a jellyfish shirt.
Oh, interesting.
She's wearing it when he comes to the house and attacks her in that final scene and when he finally gets shot.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I did not put that together.
it's a little quick. Like if you see it, you get it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of a thing.
Speaking of that, did you see the Jigsaw?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yep. In the
Because Leigh Whannell worked with oh my gosh, James Wan.
James Wan
on the first Saw.
Yeah. Have you seen Saw?
I've not.
I've also not seen Saw.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about Spiral.
Maybe.
In May.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah. Maybe.
I should have taken more detailed notes.
The long invisible sequences, especially in the house and the mental hospital. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah. Another thing, speaking of that, is Leigh Whannell's direction. Mm-hmm. I think is superb. His use of negative space is frightening, especially early on in the movie when you just pans over to like an empty hallway and like lingers there, even though the Invisible Man suit is not even in use yet. Mm-hmm. You still are fearful just knowing the movie you are watching. Yeah, you're scared that someone is going to be there.
In that sense, a very self-conscious movie. Like it realizes what the viewer is seeing. And feeling.
So like in that particular opening scene, the use of like sound as a jump scare as opposed to like images, like amazing. The dog bowl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the dog bowl.
Which the one behind us like audibly like gasped at that dog bowl. Yes,
there's one behind us who was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. I think the audience we watched this with was a good audience.
They were a good audience. Yeah, that woman especially.
Oh, man.
The dog bowl, the sink. Mm-hmm. It's like little things like that where it's like just very good like audio jump scares. And also just the dread of not knowing where he is. Even like when he's not there, you're scared he's there, which is really interesting.
Could be there at any time.
And he's like, there's long amounts of time where he's just watching her.
Yeah.
Like that part where she's like sitting on the ground, like crying. And obviously he's there the entire time because he's paying attention to their conversation. And like that's when he punches Storm Reed. And it's like
really good. That was a really good turn.
Good.
Because I wasn't expecting that as well. Like that's those unexpected.
The way like Adrian like manipulates her is it's genius. It's obviously horrifying. That's what makes me so scary. Is the fact this man is a psychopath and he's invisible.
Yeah.
Like little tiny things, just how he turns people against him and also against her, and also with like how he kills the sister.
Oh my goodness.
Where he like slits her throat and then he puts the knife in her hand.
Immediately in her hand.
And she's just so in shock. She doesn't even like realize she's holding the knife.
Yeah.
It's things that they're just genius.
Cause like, I guess he just has a sense of like, she'll be in enough shock. I can
even the tiny things. Like when he like turns the stovetop higher. Yep. So it starts the fire.
Yep.
It's a little tiny deal too. And also, this is a good thing with the screenplay a little bit, is it sets up like the ways in which she finds him out.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool to get the reveal of the fire extinguisher. So when she has the fire extinguisher, we know exactly where she got that. It's under the sink.
Exactly.
It's things that are very cool where it sets them up pretty early.
Yeah. I think the whole planting and payoff,
exactly,
as my screenwriting professor might say very often, is really not only critical but also just well done.
It's very well done.
Utilized, you know. And I think going back to those long invisible sequences when it's just her, like again, it's the house scene, just her and Adrian, and then the mental hospital scene when she kind of breaks out, sorta. Not really. She kind of breaks out, but like it's also Adrian.
It's Adrian breaking out.
It's
she's
really
just getting out
him breaking in, and she's just kind of getting out of the way when she can.
Yeah.
Getting out of Dodge. I think the camera work is so fascinating because you can tell how technical, like you can tell how mechanical it is, and it makes me even more want to know how they did it.
It's hyper functional too, even though you never see Adrian. Like obviously when he is invisible, the camera moves in such a way, like you said, with the objects moving, you can tell exactly where he is. Like the shot where she says to the doorway, like, I have nothing left to give you, and it just focuses on the door for like a second longer. You're like, oh, I know, you know exactly where he is standing in that doorway.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems that they're just very, very smart. Or the ladder, even that's the shot where it's aiming up, where she's peeking through the thing.
The ladder.
And you just like, you obviously don't see him, but you know he's like right in front of her face. That's what makes the paint like so terrifying, obviously. It's like you already know he's there, but just seeing it is like so frightening.
It really is. Like that scene, I wish they held on it longer. Because in the original, in like the actual movie, that shot lasts for maybe a second.
Yeah.
Until like he runs off and like it's like just jarring enough where I don't get to just soak in that horror enough.
Yeah.
So it makes you want more.
Yeah. I kind of wish that shot was a little bit longer, like a half second longer.
Yeah, just a little bit more.
It's so quick.
You're just like, whoa. But, yeah. That's the thing. It wasn't just in the trailer. It was in the teasers, like the 15-second teasers. That's the big shot they show when you're like going to YouTube videos and stuff, and you're getting a trailer in the beginning. I'm like,
and I think
okay,
also
I get
like
it.
we talked about like how smart Adrian is. I think that is a strength to the script as well, where it's like the phone, like putting his phone in the attic, so when she called, you just heard the vibrate, which that shot's so great too. There's the perfect like timing of it, where like she's looking up as the camera moves up, and you just hear like his voicemail.
Yeah.
Also, this thing, you see the suit in the beginning, you see the arm on display in the lab.
Yeah.
It's tiny things like that where it's like just very good, like setup and payoff.
I liked, I actually went back to watch the trailer before we recorded this.
Yeah.
I wanted to see kind of the progression of the shots of what they showed.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wanted to do a little analysis. And there was actually a couple shots that didn't make it into the movie. And I was really happy because all the shots that were in the trailer and weren't in the movie were the correct ones to cut.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff that was just kind of weaker shots.
Yeah, it's shots and lines of dialogue. Like where
Pretty
she
much.
says to James, like, there's someone sitting in that chair.
Yeah.
That's not in the movie.
It's not in the movie. But like it works for the trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, which I think that was great. Obviously, I want to go back to Armie Hammer, Alexander Skarsgård, originally being like
Who they were looking at.
Who they were looking at, the studio was looking at to cast.
The guy they cast looks exactly like the two of them. So if they're going for like that type, they perfectly found it.
They really did.
Or it's like that
kind of
guy.
like that dark, tall, and handsome.
Yeah.
That steely-eyed, but like kind of controlling.
Yeah,
look,
where you can buy like why he is charming. He's like a nice looking guy.
Yeah.
He like has a very like kind of soothing voice. That's the kind of man that would like do that, where he's smart enough to like know her inside and out. Where he's like, yeah, I know you're trying to trap me, but he doesn't know. And I had to watch it a second time to see this because the first time at the end I was like, he found the second suit. There's no way he didn't find the second suit.
Yeah.
But I realized that if you watch it back a second time, she is already in the closet when he enters the room.
Yeah.
So he didn't see her go in there, thus he doesn't know that she had the suit in the first place.
Yep.
So he didn't know that the suit was even hidden.
Exactly.
And she never says, like she says to the sister when when Adrian has the knife, she says like he has a suit, but she didn't say that I have the second one or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't make excuse. Like obviously he's been in that house since then. Maybe he thought the police took the second suit.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, that's one of those kind of weaker plot points that you just kind of need to accept to let the ending happen.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm glad the ending did happen. I liked the whole like she kills him using the second suit. And like she says to James, like he cut his throat. It's on the security cameras.
Yeah, that was small.
So smart.
I mean, like, and that's a good point. Whereas like you get that character resolution. Elizabeth Moss is like gets one up on Adrian finally after like this movie of just her not getting that. And I think that's the point I want to end on. Elizabeth Moss is great in this movie.
She is.
If you want to see a great performance from Elizabeth Moss, she kills it. I think she goes a bit over when she gets to the mental hospital. The whole "I'm not crazy," like you look crazy. I know you're supposed to, but like a bit too
that's
crazy,
a little bit of like the director, like, or I guess Elizabeth Moss' performance a little bit playing it up, so like it makes sense. People in the mental hospital think she's insane. Yeah. But I was talking to my friend Steve about this, where it's like that level of like mental stress makes sense for what just happened. Yeah. Like she just like saw like her sister die right in front of her, and she's like being forced in this mental asylum. She would have that same level of mental stress where she's not thinking clearly. Yeah. So it makes sense why her performance is like that way. On that note, we're going to end this week's episode of Film and. Yes. If you want to hear more about Invisible Man and see my rating on it, which is a 4.5, which is a little bonkers to some. But if you want to see my rating and other movies we discuss here on Film and, follow my Letterboxd at Cranberry18. That is CRAND Berry 18. Thank you for listening, guys. We will talk to you again in 2 weeks because next week is spring break.
Yeah,
so not here from us next week.
Week off. Sorry. Spring breakers.
And you guys are going to... we should talk about spring breakers.
We might talk about spring breakers.
When we come back, that'd be kind of fun. Okay, well, we'll talk to you guys later with spring breakers or something else. Okay, bye.
Bye.